So after making my video about switching fertilizers because the one I was using contained things like lead and mercury, I got to thinking, I want to make a video about lipophilic and hydrophilic molecules and how dangerous lipophilic molecules can be. So I'm going to do that right now. So lipid means fat. It could be oils or cooking fats or body tissue fat, anything like that. Philic means loving. Phobic means hating, so lipophilic means fat-loving, molecules that dissolve very easily in fats. So to use water as an example, if you take sugar and you pour it into water, it'll dissolve because sugar is hydrophilic, whereas if you take something like sand and you pour it in, it won't dissolve because sand is not. Has anyone ever told you that consuming a bunch of vitamin C is the key to getting rid of a cold or some sort of sickness like that? Well, it's not true, but you might notice people who take a bunch of vitamin C tablets or something like that do not drop dead. Whereas certain vitamins, things like vitamin A or D, many people have died from too much of it. For instance, people in Antarctica who they are starving and they eat polar bear liver very quickly die of vitamin A toxicity because livers of some animals are very high in vitamin A. It's also a common thing for a child to die who goes into a cabinet, opens a bottle of vitamin D and takes a bunch. Whereas vitamin B is put in things like energy drinks in ridiculous doses and people take so much vitamin C, it's just ridiculous. So how come certain vitamins are just harmless and you can take them in endless doses, whereas some, even a little bit too much, is deadly? How does that make sense? The answer is because some of these vitamins are fat soluble and some of them are water soluble. They are the fat soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K, and the rest are water soluble. So in more scientific terms, the fat soluble vitamins are lipophilic, whereas the water soluble ones are hydrophilic. Fat soluble vitamins like A, D, E, and K build up in our fatty tissues, which means we don't really excrete them, which means the levels can build up very fast and kill you. Another thing is because the dry weight of your brain is about 80% fat. Your brain is full of fat, so lipophilic molecules bind to the brain and can poison it. So I was just using vitamins as an example. That's not really what I wanted to talk about. What I wanted to talk about was toxicity. So there are many things that we come across in our everyday lives that are toxic. In fact, I can't really think of anything that is not inert and that isn't toxic. So something like sand, I guess it's non-toxic, but everything else, there is a lethal amount of ingestion. So with water, you can drink enough water that it dilutes your blood enough that your sodium levels in your blood deplete enough that you die. It's called hyponatremia. Of course, you can consume too much salt. Pretty much anything we come across in our everyday lives can be toxic in a large enough dose. Even caffeine was developed in plants as a natural insecticide. So a little bit of caffeine kills insects, whereas we can drink it and it doesn't harm us at all. In fact, it's beneficial. So how then can one compound be absolutely deadly for one species but be completely fine for humans? Well, the reason is because the dose makes the poison. Your body weight has a huge impact on how deadly something is. So things like pesticides, insecticides, fungicides, and insect repellents can absolutely kill all insects around us, whereas they can be harmless to humans. Even if there is a repeated or chronic dose, they can still have zero effect on humans. There is an exception though: lipophilic molecules. Things like mercury compounds or lead compounds or uranium compounds or any heavy metal. If it's a salt, it tends to be lipophilic, which means it can build up in the fatty tissue in your body and end up poisoning your brain. So a lot of the poisons we deal with on an everyday basis, they aren't harmful to us. But lipophilic molecules, we don't excrete them in the same way, which means the poison just keeps building up in our bodies, which makes certain things really scare me. So, yeah, if you ever wonder why I don't really have much of an issue with things like glyphosate, which is a plant poison, but I have issues with mercury compounds, even if they are at a smaller dose. That is why. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I love you all. God bless. See you next time.